Yeah.
They're the wild west of not being checked. And
Yep.
of course on CBs they come up and they'll say, cop right ahead, so they all have warnings and stuff. So I know the FBI is investigating this whole network of truck drivers, which
Listen,
is all over the country.
this Smex offender that lived next door to me for the 2 years that I worked on from home, I had a headset and I worked on the phone all day, and all day long this guy is poor. He doesn't have a job, he doesn't have any money, so he very rarely ever has power, electricity in his house. He sure doesn't have a TV or a phone, right? But what does he have? He has a CB. And he all day long he'll be sitting outside on his porch with that CB, and he'll be and he talks on that CB all day long, and it would come in, the radio frequency or whatever would come in on my headset all day, and I would have to listen to his voice all day talking on that CB. And he was talking to anybody that would talk to him. He didn't care who it was, just anybody that would talk to him. And they're all perverted.
Is it like Breaker 19 or something like that?
Yeah. Oh, it's Kentucky. It's Kentucky, Jack Jack. Come back. Just stupid. And like he ain't driving a truck. He's sitting outside on his porch talking to anybody that would talk to him. So, somebody else that's going to be in that kind of mindset, you just never know who's going to talk back to him.
And that's the thing, is if one of them has abducted somebody, it's a free for all, and they're going to say, with truck drivers or serial unalivers in today's day and age, if they work with each other, they're like, hey, I've got, somebody here. Do what you want.
Well, okay, so this is one thing that I talked about before, was the problem that we have up in these hollers, these poor, uneducated homes, poverty stricken, uneducated, drug addicted, and you've got, little kids. Mommy wants to send the 8-year-old little girl up in the holler to the Smex offender's house to get her a cigarette, because she ain't got no cigarettes, but she knows that Smex offender is going to fill her up on her way back out the door when he gives her that cigarette. Those things are serious. Like, do you know how much damage that kind of stuff does to these little girls? Because we're looking at the adult product in what we're talking about, with the Smex offender or the Smex abuse stuff that we're talking about. You end up with
that kind of damage they never recover from, one way or another. I'm blessed to have never experienced that, and I had a great mother, and my father never did anything like that to me, but I can't imagine the damage mentally and how it would do to somebody, especially if your mother or your father sends you up there willy nilly to go get a cigarette, and they knew what was going to happen.
It's that fast. It happens that fast. Once it happens once, the shock is over. And nothing happens. And so then the next time you're alone with them, I was that little girl, and I know how they are. I mean, just anything they can get. Bill Meade is a perfect example. Oh, Uncle Bill Meade, Ben Fields' uncle, who was a fire chief of a fire department. You know, from what I've found out, this man was just always a perv. Everything that he said was sexual in nature. He was always coming on to the girl. Any female that come within distance of him, he had something sexual to say or was trying to feel on her with these old nasty hands. You know, I know those men. And a lot of them, the wives will turn around and leave the room knowing.
Saying that a lot of the wives will turn around and know. And also, it happens to boys as well. I think Julie without an E stated that. And boys and girls both can be victims. I don't think there are very specific. A person that preys on young kids will prey on a boy or a girl, whatever's in it. I don't know the people that Elizabeth talks about. She wants to know more about Ben Fields and the jail. Any good place to start? That's more Elizabeth's undoing. I'm not from Whitesburg, so I honestly did not know anything or heard any rumors about what was going on before things that went down on September 19th. I moved here back in 2021 and just I've kept to myself, but I did not know anything. And Elizabeth knows I did not know.
Yeah. Jenny, listen, we've only got a couple female lawyers in Whitesburg, and it was you and Ashley Sturgill. And Ashley Sturgill, we know, is married to the chief of police in Whitesburg. But, you know, she's about your age, ain't she?
No, she's 10 years younger than me.
Oh, is she?
Okay. She's from Belfry, too. She's from the Belfry area, too. She's not from Whitesburg either.
No, she ain't. And that's what I was going to say. Neither you or her were part of the legal circle, so to speak, you know, down there in Whitesburg. I remember talking to her one time, and she told me, because I asked her how she felt being a woman, you know, down there around in that circle of men. And she told me that she just put her head down and tried to keep her mouth shut and not be seen. That's what she said to me.
I just keep to myself. I mean, I've always just kept to myself. People may think that I'm extroverted, but really I'm introverted. I have few friends. I love the friends I do have, but I keep my circle small. And my mom always said my big thing is I don't trust people, which in the line of field I'm in, you don't trust people. It's better not to.
Yeah. Jenny is very much, she's a lot more skeptical than I am, and it helps me because I'm like, oh, I believe them. And she's like, I don't. So
even if I do, I'm like skeptic. Let me ask a couple questions.
Yeah, she helps me a whole lot. Think things through because, you know, people lie. I wanted to address that tonight too, so I'm glad that I thought about that. People lie and people exaggerate and people sensationalize, and, you know, very seldom do we as human beings repeat what we heard the same way. You know, and that's just human nature. It's just part of the human being. I don't know. But, you know, I don't think it's always intentional. But then again, you've got times where people are intentionally, trying to get over on you. And I know that with what we're talking about in the bigger picture of corruption, this sexual abuse, the sexual favors, and all that kind of stuff in the legal system, both things can be true. Okay, so we look at some of these women or participants. Let's not even say women, because it's men and women both. So we look at the participants in some of these private parties and whatever, and they were consensual. There wasn't any kind of, from what we're hearing so far, a lot of this stuff was consensual, in nature.